All right, let's do this thing live on a Thursday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. How you living, pal?
I'm doing well, and hanging in there. It's nice to see the sun. I don't know. I'm starting to get vibes like small balls coming. Those pool times coming, but it's a little it's a little early. It's wrong. It's false. It's tricksy and false.
False hope.
Yeah, that's
false
right.
hope. Yeah, it's false hope. It is. It is not that. It's muck it up, enjoy yourself as you can on these moments when it's nice and sunny and beautiful, but realize that you're a long way from hitting any sort of drive that doesn't stop upon impact. You're a long way from being poolside. You're still at least probably 2.5 months. I mean, you're talking at least mid-May at the earliest before you're going to be poolside.
Listen, in my mind, if you will it, it is no dream. I'll go sit by a pool right now. Give me a heater. No big deal. I'm ready.
You poolsided with like a little one of those heaters that they have pouring down on you. So it'd be a remarkable sight. When
Miss K and I went on our mini moon right after our wedding 2 years ago, we got married in Scottsdale, Paradise Valley. We went to Sedona for the mini moon.
Sure. Picturesque Sedona.
Beautiful. Beautiful Sedona. Well, it turns out it was unseasonably cold, as in blizzards and 6 inches of snow in Sedona, which is never, as they told us many times, this never happens. Well,
of course.
It happened to us. But we were undeterred, and we, in fact, one day we sat out at a patio bar in the afternoon underneath. They don't have heaters there because why would they ever have heaters in Arizona?
Why would they need them?
They don't. But we were under about 38 blankets, like Sherpas.
Yep.
But we did it. We were there. We did it.
Damn it, I will not be deterred.
Not be deterred. No. We had to buy, in fact, clothing that was not in our suitcase for the environment. Sure. I mean, after all, we were getting married in Paradise Valley where it was 70, and then up in Sedona, which is some elevation, obviously.
It's going to be cooler. But you would never
60.
have anticipated snow.
Blizzards.
Yeah, 55, 60, sure. Sweatshirt weather.
Right.
Quarter zips and
Quarter
shorts.
zip.
I mean,
living the dream. Sure.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what you're hoping for on that front. Yeah, this is awesome. I've missed the sun. We've had it now a couple of days in a row. Much of the snow is starting to deteriorate, which is a win. Still big pileups and such, but no, it's fantastic. We're getting there. I think we're through the worst of it. And it was a bad February. It was brutal. But we're through it.
Brutal. Moving on. By the way, did you, and I know your answer, you are not hard of seeing, but did you happen to see the respect, the homage paid to the Hoff by The Rock?
You and I and Gibbe were on a text chain yesterday. And, folks, if you haven't seen this, so in classic Hoff fashion, he sends a picture to The Rock to sign, and it's of The Rock looking lovingly at Joe, and Joe has this great look on his face.
Great.
To which The Rock then on the thing signs it. The fact that you would send this to me, the look that I only give my wife, is essentially perfect. Love you, The Rock, and then they both tweet it back and everything. Yeah, respect and all this. He mentions the consecutive games played, all consecutive snaps played, all of those things.
Calls him the GOAT.
And the GOAT, yeah. And appropriate. And so what we said, and folks, this really is a remarkable testament to character and the type of human that Joe Thomas, the Hoff, is.
Yes.
He is somebody who can have that back and forth with The Rock and also spend a pretty remarkable amount of time talking to me about coffee machines and you about sous vide. Like, that's who he is.
He wants, whenever I'm cooking something, he wants to know. And then he's like, well, if he sees something he really likes, he's like, what seasoning was that? And then he's ordered it in 2 seconds. Like, he is the best guy.
We're two jamotes on the radio, and he treats us the same way as he treats The Rock. And he's the Hoff. Yeah.
He's the Hoff. The Rock also, yesterday, a follow-up to the story, no pun intended, followed the Hoff on Twitter.
Jeez.
You won't even follow me. And
no,
yet,
not on social.
And yet, The Rock is now following the Hoff.
I'm just curious. What I want to know. I want to know what The Rock's follower count is. How many people is he following? He follows 300 people. He has 15 million followers.
That's right. And one of those 300, it's like the movie 300. One of those 300 is the Hoff.
Yeah, I wanted to see, in terms of people that he follows, is there anybody else on this list that both he would follow and would follow us?
That also follows us?
Is there a chance? Yeah.
Possible.
Other than Joe.
I mean, The Miz wrestled his first, when The Rock made his return after a decade in the WWE, his first match was a tag team match. It was The Rock and John Cena against The Miz and R-Truth. It was called Awesome Truth was their tag team at Madison Square Garden. Sold out Madison Square Garden for Survivor Series. Those many years ago.
All right. So, I mean, honestly, he only has 300 people that he follows, so it's a lot of, like, the luminaries that you would expect. The Hoff in there.
Yeah.
I was seeing if there was anybody else. He follows Jimmy Trania.
Okay.
That's interesting. So there's one. Anybody else?
What
again,
this means?
A little Jim Ross, little JR.
Of course, good old JR for sure. Yeah, the voice of the attitude.
But I don't see JR on here. I mean, it could get to it. I'm just saying I haven't seen it yet. I feel like I'm three-quarters of the way through this.
The big news in all of this is now for us Jamokes.
Yeah.
Is that now when the Hoff tweets us his buddy stuff, it's showing up on The Rock's timeline. And The Rock might say, hey, I smell what they're cooking. Maybe I need to follow Zegura and Bishop and give it.
This is amazing. Randomly, a Twitter handle called Deadline Hollywood that follows me. And The Rock follows it. I don't follow it.
Ooh.
Don't know why. I don't know why.
They follow you.
Don't know why. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Pretty good list.
Good out of the Hoff.
The Hoff.
That's awesome.
A source close to the Hoff yesterday texted me a picture of Dwayne Johnson followed you, and said, "Not an everyday occurrence." That was a source close to the Hoff.
Close to the Hoff.
Close.
Yeah. That's very good. That's awesome, man. That's so cool. So cool to see.
That's a respect. Listen,
one of the
there
best
might
dudes.
not be on the planet right now a more popular, more revered, more successful human than The Rock.
He has gone to a new level with the tequila. I know he's got an
goodness.
energy drink. He's reached a new level of popularity that the likes of which I'm not sure that we've seen when you combine the social media impact with it, because it's just a remarkable thing. The fact, his ability to use the social media to sell products that he owns or endorses and come across very likable while doing it is a remarkable gift. Very remarkable.
I'll say this.
Gift.
I do
Really
know
is.
a lot of people who have had interactions. I had one interaction with him many, many years ago. Could not have been nicer. Could not have been nicer at all. And everybody who worked, like Mike loves him, and he's been nothing but nice to Mike. Obviously, the Hoff, so he's got good taste there. But he, everything you hear about him is that he's just a total class guy. He works like a cyborg, always getting after it, working out, working. I mean, what he did, he sold more bottles, more cases of his spirit than anybody's ever sold in their first year ever. And I think his show, which we started last night, watched the first episode, which is it's great. I mean, it is exactly.
I heard a lot of wrestling Easter eggs and stuff in it.
Oh yeah, it's exactly what you want it to be.
That's nice.
It's tremendous, and the guy they got to play his dad really looks like him. He really kind of, and the kids they got really do look like The Rock used to look, which is a pretty incredible job. But the whole premise of the show is that he's running for president in 2032, and this is a sit-down interview that he is giving to let people know that because the complaint was that he's so successful, he's just totally out of touch with the common person. Mm-hmm. And he says, well, wait a second, then you obviously don't know my background and the reason why his production company is called $7 Production, and he's going to go through all of that. But that's so that's the premise of the show, is him doing a sit-down interview that sets up these scenes from his past that are thus the show. And there are some who believe that this is legitimately, he's doing this as a legitimate test of the waters, and to also get some of the things from his past that maybe aren't so good out there on his terms initially, so that when he does decide he's running, it's already been, it's all out there.
If he wants to run, he'd win.
I think so.
I think he'd win if he wanted to run.
If that happens.
I don't know if he will, if you want the headache, but.
If that happens, because like right now, wouldn't you say Arnold, in terms of being a big movie star and then taking it into politics, governor of California, pretty big deal. Ronald Reagan, obviously president, but I don't know if Ronald Reagan was ever, as an actor, what Arnold Schwarzenegger
no, Trump
was.
is the answer. Trump's the answer.
But he's a TV reality. That's different.
I understand, but I mean, it's in the similar vein in terms of Reagan, in terms of he was famous for something else and then got into this. So Trump is kind of the model of that, of somebody that had no, forever it was, you go to an Ivy League school, you start in city council, you go up and you become a senator, you become a governor, and that's how you do it. And Trump threw that on its head. And Reagan did that a generation before, but I mean but he was governor of California before. Yeah, there's precedent. I mean,
of course.
He absolutely, of course he could do it. Yeah, and I think the popularity's there. To speak to you're mentioning his kindness, and then we got to get this J.J. Watt stuff. So when James Laurinaitis' dad died, The Rock not only sent flowers, but also sent a handwritten letter to James personally. Took the time personally to do that. You think about all the stuff he's got going on, and he has the time to do that. So that speaks to what you're talking about, how nice he is to Miz, how nice he is to you in the interesting times you've had. Genuine dude, man.
And his ability to utilize 24 hours is
I don't know
off
when he
the
sleeps.
charts.
He must not. I don't know how he does it. It's pretty remarkable. It seems like he's up really early and up really late, so I don't know. Time for your OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machine, preferred copy provider of your Cleveland Browns. Of all the X's and O's for your office, call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Kind of a crazy afternoon on the J.J. Watt front. I think it's pretty clear he's enjoying this a great deal.
Yes.
And I don't blame him. I mean, probably wasn't recruited out of high school. It's not like he went to Wisconsin right away, so did not have the big fanfare. You're drafted by the Texans, you stay there, and now he's being recruited and enjoying it with, what these random tweets and all this stuff. And John Clayton was on in Pittsburgh yesterday and said Watt won't be coming to Pittsburgh, that it was Tennessee, Green Bay, and Buffalo. The Raiders is a dark horse. And a couple hours later, Clayton clarified his remarks, saying, quote, people are misrepresenting what I said on radio today. I said Tennessee, Green Bay, and Buffalo are the leading teams for J.J. Watt, but not the final three. Watt hasn't narrowed his list. The Browns are still in, so are the Raiders. He has a dozen teams after him. And then this morning, Diana Rossini says that Watt has received multiple offers for between $15 and $16 million a year. What do you make of all this?
That, to me, the fact that he hasn't signed yet, and if he's only, talking to these good teams, and somebody offered him $16 million a year and he has not yet signed, says to me, this sounds
I would think that none of the teams
agent-driven negotiation via the media.
Yeah, agreed. There's no chance that any of the teams that are I can't imagine the chance that any of the teams that he's considering have offered $15 to $16 million.
Just remember the reports like this a year ago about one Jadeveon Clowney that he was getting 17 and boy, he didn't know. He ended up signing what, for 12?
Yeah.
If you had 17 out there, you're not signing for 12.
Right.
So I take these reports with a heaping tablespoon of salt, not just one grain.
Yeah.
Heaping.
Not a grain. No, a heaping tablespoon.
That's right.
And for our part of this, I mean, to me, I think if the best combination of, just from the outside looking in, the best combination of ability to pay, necessity of having him on the roster, and living circumstances is Tennessee. That's the spot.
Yep.
That's got it all. He knows Vrabel. They are desperate for pass rush help. They're desperate to get better defensively. Vrabel would know how to use him. There's a familiarity there. He seems to be a guy who's enjoying this process, which would lead me to believe that he'd enjoy rubbing elbows with stars. Outside of Los Angeles and New York, Nashville's got the most. So that checks the boxes to me. To me that would be the front runner. It would be Tennessee.
Yeah, and I think that's when I hear you say that, I feel like you're telling the people to pay attention to the scores. That's what I think. I'm hearing more than speculation. That's what I'm hearing.
Everything that's said on this show has purpose. Just remember that, kids.
Just remember
that.
Remember that.
Yep. Yeah, you never know.
So,
It could be a nugget walking right in front of you at some point.
Pay attention.
And I honestly don't know it. In terms of what we want most opposite Miles, I don't know that he checks all of the boxes.
I would agree
Whereas
with you.
there are other guys out there that I think will.
I completely agree with you, and he is very much Browns fans. He would be a short-term rental. That's the bottom line. That's what you're looking at, J.J. Watt. 1 awesome year, maybe 2. But let's not forget, would he bring a ton to this team? Of course he would. Is he the guy that is going to answer all of those questions opposite Myles Garrett? He's not. That's not what he would do in any type of a long-term scenario. He could do that for the 2021 season, sure. But he's also not. He's an excellent end. Excellent. He is going to be great against the run. He's going to dominate single. I think, if Miles is getting double teamed or one of those guys is going to be getting singled up a lot, that's going to be great for you. It's going to give you opportunity for the guys on the inside to win. You line up J.J. Watt inside of Miles on one side of the line, good luck. What are you doing? And then you bring a blitz on the other side, drop them off when you're sliding everything over there. There's so many things that Joe Woods could do. So he would be a great fit, but he does not say this is a solution that we don't need to revisit for multiple years. This is it's not a Band-Aid because it's better than that, but it is a temporary solution. And the fact that there were people who thought he would come here 1 year, $5 million for, I don't know why that was. I saw a lot of Browns fans on $50 million. I thought it would be like 5. No, he's going to get paid. It's probably going to be, I think, 12, 13. Let's see, paid Olivier Vernon 11 last year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's it, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does have offers at 15 from teams. It's just probably not the places he want to be, so that's why it got put out there. So I think that there's you're in it at the right, but it's got to be all right. Like this is not some desperate thing, and I just think our front office is far too disciplined to get into some sort of bidding war in any way. It doesn't fit the character or the makeup. Speaking of Miles, you saw his hoops video.
Yeah. Does he look like?
What are you hard of seeing?
Crazy jacked to me. He looked huge.
He looked like he could be like Conan the Barbarian.
Yes.
Like he just was looked like a superhero is what he looked like. Like it just was remarkable. He is so athletic, and he is as impressive as any human being I've ever stood next to.
Agreed.
Physically.
Agreed.
So in football, the names that come to mind, honestly, a guy that was crazy was Mario Williams. And I stood next. You remember him with the Texans?
Yes.
You remember Mario Williams?
When he was with Buffalo, I said he was the most incredible. When we did those joint practices, he was he just.
Oh, you. Okay.
He was a human, but then like bigger. It was like he was just a bigger version of a human.
Yeah. I stood next to him. So I didn't stand next to him in the pros. Stood next to him in college when he played at NC State, down when I was covering Florida State at the time, and looked like a superhuman. Julius Peppers had some of that when you would be around him. And then Cam is another one that has that, where it just defies logic, the size for their ability.
Totally. Completely. And to me,
Miles got game, man.
Definitely has game. Mac Wilson's got a little bit of game. I've been seeing some of his videos on IG playing some hoops as well. Mm-hmm. But when you go with a guy like Mario Williams, and what I meant by he's a human, but he's bigger, because I guess there are big people, it's that it felt like he was 6'8", 330, but totally proportioned like a chiseled 6'3",
like LeBron.
220 guy would be. But he just was that person, and then wider, taller, bigger. Yeah, exactly.
Bigger, yeah. Kind of like LeBron. Like when you watch LeBron play, like LeBron moves like somebody who's 6'2".
Right.
You don't see somebody who's usually people who are 6'8", 250 or whatever he was when he was playing here. Usually guys who are that size, they move like Karl Malone. They don't move like a guard.
Yes.
They don't. And that's what makes that's just a different level, and Miles has that as well. Our web poll results are in. Jarvis Landry's top plays of 2020 is voted by you. The wild card 40-yard touchdown catch wins with 66% of the vote. The 37-yard touchdown pass to OBJ gets 29% of the vote, and the 3-yard touchdown run against Pittsburgh gets 4% of the vote. Gibby, is this how you worded these? Turn your mic on.
Turn your mic on, Gibby. He's not. He's struggling. He's having a hard time.
Is it on now?
Yeah, it is. There it is.
What? If only he had
Hold
a
on.
light.
How
if only he had a
about,
light.
how about we need a Gibby fashion cam? How about today's offering? We're talking white Gibby, come in
I
here.
can't
Can
see
you
it.
come in here? Are
I'm
you allowed to
not.
come in?
No.
White collar.
We're not
okay?
allowed.
Like solid white collar.
Get thrown
Like
out of
Bob
the
Kraft white collar.
Like a French collar.
French collar on a white
Hefner,
base
yep.
shirt with a is it a blue or is it a black?
Black.
Little mini flower pattern all over. I mean, when I walked in today, I lost it. And he's wearing black slacks. He's got beautiful
Look
shoes
at
on.
that.
Bring
Oh
the
my
camera
gosh,
over
I
to
love
you.
it.
The people want this. Get over there, camera.
Nah.
It
Get
is.
out of the car and
this
let the
is-
people hear it.
This is, if we were in Indy, let's say this was Thursday night at the Combine, and we're going
this would
Elmos
be-
tonight with the
that's
Agent
your
of the
look.
Stars, and he's wearing
Yep.
this. Forget about it. That's the talk of the town. Who cares about
I'm
the
not going to
draft?
bed.
Who
I'll
cares?
meet you.
No.
I'll meet
No.
you at the convention center.
I would feel like
Not true.
we might need the Hoff
No.
or the Rock as a bodyguard. I just think it would be
Yeah.
pandemonium.
Yeah. That's right. I love it. The only thing I
Shots at
disapprove of
Kilmer.
this, Gibby, is the fact you're wearing a T-shirt under it. I don't know why you're wearing a T-shirt under that dress shirt.
Have to. I'm a sweater.
No.
No.
I'm a sweater.
No.
Erroneous.
Erroneous.
You're not.
I am.
No, you're
No.
not. No, you're good. You'd be fine.
Like
You'd
in
be
the
doing
summer,
fine.
different
Zegura,
story.
I can't believe
Summer,
how
different
quickly.
story.
No, you're good. You're safe. Let it
Safe.
live.
Let it live.
breathe a little
Breathe.
bit. Zegura, I could not believe you blew past the fact that Gibby tried to talk, and if he had a light, he would know he was on or not.
You know what? You're
Like that
right.
happened.
That's the power of this shirt. That's how
You were
how
so excited about
incredible
the
this
shirt.
shirt is. Yeah, that's right, Gibby.
You were so
You would have known
excited.
you were on the air, and you would have embarrassed yourself if you had an on-off light.
You were so excited about
Oh,
the
God.
shirt
I
that
was
you
locked
missed
in, like
a
a
golden
I
opportunity.
was like a Clydesdale.
Opportunity
Here I
missed.
was. No, but
Opportunity
Beau
gone.
brought it back.
Where?
That's
Gone.
what a huge B does. He says, listen,
Nothing to
it was
see
out
here.
there. I know
Nothing
it's
to
going to
see.
land. I know it's going to land, but they didn't see it. He was Clydesdale. Let me bring it back, and now we're giving proper attention. Yeah, Gibby. Don't you think that would have gone better if you had a light?
No.
Yeah, you do.
No.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
I love it.
That is amazing.
I love it.
Hey, guys.
No, by the way, it was worded as
Go ahead.
Week 4, 37-yard TD pass to OBJ. Week 17, 3-yard TD run versus Pitt. Wild card, 40-yard TD catch. Unfortunately,
Okay.
I only get
So
25
again-
characters per
I see.
spot.
So the hard part with the 3-yard touchdown run is I don't know that people realized it was the game clinching, the final point scored to clinch the playoffs, and that's why it got such a paltry 4% of the vote. The people just read the headlines and did not dig in deep on each of these
Well,
plays.
the truth is,
Hey,
the other two plays are like highlight plays of the season.
no question. It was more the story,
Sure.
if you will, the story of the 3-yard touchdown run from
The
it's
meaning.
contagious to this. The meaning of it. Yeah. Hey, guys, the Twitter mailbag is back today. Tweet us your questions at Browns_daily. Use the hashtag AskCBD. We will get to those at 2:30. We have more mock draft fun. We'll get into the tight end room as well. Off and running here on a Thursday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. obsessing over something like football can be a problem. If you're obsessing over gambling, it can be dangerous. Do something to take your mind off it. If you want some tips, go to keepitfunohio.com for great ways to keep gambling fun. Mel Kiper 2.0 drafted. All right. Now, as a long devotee of Mel Kiper.
That's right.
And you're on. And an incredible appreciation for what he does. And someone who has talked to him a couple of times but knows people who know him well. I assure you that he does not. This is a man who, what he really wants to do is just do the big board. That's what he really wants to do. He just wants to rank the players. So then ESPN said, well, we'd like you to do a mock draft. And he said, fine, but I'm not including underclassmen.
Yep.
Only seniors.
That's right.
Remember this?
Yep.
Only seniors. He was drug into it. Then they said, listen, Mel, if you're going to do a mock, you, for example, if it were this year and this conversation were taking place, you have to include Trevor Lawrence. Nobody wants to see a mock draft that Trevor Lawrence isn't in. Everybody knows he's coming out. Like, you got him in there. Kiper goes, fine. So today, another bridge is crossed.
Trades,
and it's not
baby.
lost on me. It's not lost on me that it's supposed to be day 2 of the NFL Combine where there would either be all sorts of other content to fill. Instead, Mel Kiper did a mock with trades. And boy, are there trades in this one. He's got a lot going on.
Boy, are there. It's great.
And I can imagine them like asking him to do it and him just running his hands through his perfectly coiffed hair and just going, okay, all right. You want your trades? Here's your trades.
That's what I thought he said. You want some trades? I'll give you
Fine.
trades. You get
You
get
asked
trades.
for it.
You want trades? You got trades. Guess what?
It's funny because they were trying to press him on it this morning. I think I'd get up, and he was having none of it. Like, it was just, the trades are just ridiculous.
Oh.
So, for example,
Yeah.
he has the Falcons trading up to 2 to take Zach Wilson. He has the Jets then taking Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida, at number 4. He's got the 49ers moving up to 7 with Detroit to take Justin Fields. He's got Mac Jones going 8 to Carolina. He's got the Patriots moving up in a trade to Denver to number 9 to take Trey Lance. So he gets all of the quarterbacks picked in the top 9.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Mac Jones 8.
It's amazing what he did.
What?
Don't you think like this is just him out of spite?
Oh yeah.
Clearly, like
All
you want
trades.
to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Every quarterback. It was like there was one time I was over at my buddy Mark's house in Big Lou. Big Lou, his dad, we had just watched, I think, like Apocalypse Now. He goes, you want to get weird? I'll get weird with you. And we're like, no, we do not want to get weird. We're out. We're out, Big Lou. We love you. But no. I almost
elicited a spit.
I almost
That almost elicited a spit reaction because I did not see the Apocalypse Now turn in it because that adds
so
that's
much.
a whole other layer to the Big Lou
so many
part
layers.
when you add Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of get weird that nobody wants. No, we're good.
No.
I'll see you on down the road.
That was, in fact, my exact answer. No, we do not.
Yeah. I think I'm good. He's got us picking Zaven Collins, the linebacker out of Tulsa. We've seen his name a lot. We've seen it a lot.
Well, what really stood out to me about this one is, let's start at pick 21, shall we? Rousseau, edge. 22, Jalen Phillips, edge. 23, Kwity Paye, edge. Steelers get a center to replace Pouncey. 25, Christian Barmore, defensive tackle, who's been mocked to us as well from Alabama. Then Zaven Collins. But then you keep going. 28, Owe from Penn State, edge. 29, Tryon, edge, Washington. So you're talking, and then 32, Azeez Ojulari, edge, Georgia. So from 20 to 32, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the final 12 picks in the first round are edge rushers.
Yep. Position rich and deep.
No Tutu, though. Maybe he's there.
No Tutu.
Oh, man. Did you watch? I don't know.
Could be.
I know you're not hard of seeing, but I did invest some time yesterday in a Tutu Atwell highlight film, and it was enjoyable.
Sadly, no, I did not.
It was
did not have
enjoyable.
time for that yesterday in my day. I would have liked to.
Too much
would have liked to be able to see that. Yeah, that didn't take. The blonde couldn't. I don't know. She tried to power through. It was the episodes that she jumped in on were pretty. You know, there's a lot going on.
She needed the
Lots
first
going on.
episode to hook her because it's the incredible.
So then, what do you
premise.
do in that sense? Do you rewatch that?
It. Yeah. I think
Run
so.
that back so she has a full understanding
Yeah.
of it, and then hope that you can move ahead?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Because I really like it, so I'm going to need her to be dialed in to it. And yeah, and I even agreed. Like, look, I understand that this is essentially, from some of the more mature themes in this, it is basically a Game of Thrones in Amish Pennsylvania. So I understand that there's a lot to take in here.
Yes.
I get it, and I'm willing to fast forward through certain parts if that gets your buy-in. Like, I don't need to see it either. Like, it's fine. I don't need to see it. It doesn't wreck it for me if I don't see, the last 7 minutes of a fight scene. So, we can do that. So we're in negotiations at this point. Let's just say to go from Schitt's Creek to this is a pretty enormous jump for her. Like, that's remarkable.
Yeah.
She's like, can we go back? Can we maybe run that back?
Boy.
I said, well, no, it's done.
I just in Schitt's Creek, by the way, I just got to the softball. We were just at the softball episode.
Please stop saying that.
It is
so great.
Unbelievable.
So great. Yeah, it's great. All right, we've got a free agent list from CBSSports.com. We also have around the league. And speaking of, oh boy, how about this news out of Seattle? The depth. Have you read this story in The Athletic?
About the crushing
it's
of the
about
union?
10,000 words.
Yeah.
So buckle in. It's about 10,000 words. And this goes a lot further back than you think. Let's just say that. So we'll get to all of that here coming up. You listen to the Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If your game plan for this season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/Go Browns today. CBSSports.com. We've looked at 10 free agents who deserve more attention than they are getting. Let's just start before we get into these names. This is a really talented free agent class. There's a lot, especially at defensive end. There is tremendous amount of talent in this free agent class.
Absolutely.
And a lot of guys. And I think you will be shocked at how little it takes to sign some of these guys, just because of what's going on with the cap and the fact that teams are going to start to feel the crunch. If you go around the league and say who's got cap space, it's not as many teams as you think. So I think you're going to get you'll get really good players at a really bargain deals here.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a buyer's market.
Yeah.
Here are the names. Three receivers they mentioned: Corey Davis, T.Y. Hilton, and Nelson Aguilar. Any of those of interest to you, sir?
So of those three, and I think we saw Corey Davis have an excellent year at the right time coming out of Tennessee. T.Y. Hilton, it seems like some of the luster is gone, right, in terms of T.Y.'s ability to get down the field and be that speedster. He's just not that same big play guy that he was from 2013 to 2018. So if you said, is there anybody on here that intrigues me, it's got to be Nelson Aguilar, because 48 catches, 896 yards. That's over 20 a pop. 8 touchdowns. But it's weird. That's not what he was coming out of USC, was a vertical guy. He was supposed to be this good route runner and like a Juju in many ways. But what he did there was phenomenal. And he's somebody that's a name that I would be interested in. I just think he is going to end up getting paid far too much based on what he brings to the table.
Yeah. The two tight ends, Richard Rodgers, Trey Hendrickson, obviously there wouldn't be a need there. The corners, Mike Hilton, Xavier Rhodes, and then the free safety, Malik Hooker out of Indy as well. Hooker is an interesting one because of the injuries. You certainly would be, and you don't know if somebody's ever going to be right from a health standpoint. When he's played, he's been pretty good. He was an absolute comet at Ohio State. He was a first-team consensus All-American, was one of the best defensive players in college football. I know a lot of people clamored for him in the draft. And early on in his career in Indy, he flashed why he was drafted where he was, but he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. It feels like any time he would start to get some rhythm and momentum, he would get hurt again, and that's obviously would be a big point of concern. But his ceiling, I would think, and I don't know all of the injuries he's incurred in Indy, his ceiling, I would think, would still be relatively high. On a bargain, wouldn't be bad to kick the tires.
I'd give him a look. I know S would love it. He would be thrilled with that, and there were many people that wanted the Browns to take him back in that draft right there, and you wonder how maybe things would have gone different for him. The other name on this list, though, that we went over here, and this was, it had a T-E in front of his name, but it actually should have been a D-E in front of his name, is Trey Hendrickson.
Oh, yeah.
And
right.
Trey Hendrickson, this is a guy, 26 years old, 13.5 sacks, 25 quarterback hits, a surprise breakout star, but he seems like somebody who could absolutely fit the bill opposite Myles Garrett, along with, as we said, a guy like a Carl Lawson. From that young standpoint and the ability to do that on a big basis, on a longer-term basis, Hendrickson could fit that bill. And I think he's an interesting guy. He's good in a 4-3. You already know that. Played opposite Cam Jordan and obviously enjoyed this success in New Orleans. So this would be a pretty natural move for him to come to a team like the Browns. So he's somebody that I would put certainly on the list that, yes, I am, in fact, interested in.
You do wonder, how much did he benefit from playing opposite Cam, and does that contribute to his burst on the scene? But his circumstances here would be even better.
Sure.
So, I think that he would certainly be an interesting one. I'm curious on the price tag on that, on what that would be. I think most people have him more towards the top of the defensive end market. So, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I think the lesson you can learn, and you talked about it in the Mel Kiper draft mock, and you can talk about it here in free agency, defensive ends, an abundance. Really good ones.
Yeah, an abundanza, if you will. And, going back to Malik Hooker, that's something to think about last year. Short-term deals, we brought in, former first-rounder Adrian Claiborne. We brought in former first-rounder Carl Joseph. We brought in former first-rounder Kevin Johnson. So obviously you're willing to take a bet on somebody that's got that elite kind of talent. And the notion of Hooker roaming the deep with Harrison and Delpit being more intermediate, playing some slot, rushing the quarterback, playing the run, covering tight ends, that sounds pretty intriguing to me. I'd be in on that. That I'm in on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would be too. And the ceiling, as I said, there is just so high. I want to remind you guys, the Twitter mailbag is back today. Tweet us your questions. At Browns_Daily, use the hashtag AskCBD, and we will go through those coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. Got some big news on the NFL front concerning Russell Wilson, and it's coming from Adam Schefter. So we'll let you know what that is and what to make of it. That is coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns.
Huge TTs.
All right, let's go around the league, and this Russell Wilson story, yeah, you're on.
Thanks.
Is a banger.
No light.
There's a lot to it. The Athletic, it's long. It's like 10,000. It feels like 10,000 words. I read it this morning. There's a lot of detail to it. There's a lot of quotes to it. There's a lot of disagreements which are explained in great detail that state back all the way to 2018. And some of Wilson's concerns about what was happening offensively, and really started with comments that Pete Carroll made back then in terms of that Russell had to be better, and that's where kind of the rift started all those years ago from Wilson's perspective. And then there was a meeting this year going into or coming out of the Arizona game where Wilson had a meeting and said, this is what we need to do offensively, and basically none of his requests were granted in the view, according to the story. And honestly, when I was done reading it, I thought, well, it's a lot worse than I thought, clearly. And there's a lot more to this than just, I don't want to get hit as much anymore. And it felt like, boy, it'd be hard to imagine him not wanting to be traded. And then you see this 10 minutes ago from Adam Schefter. Quarterback Russell Wilson has not demanded a trade. His agent Mark Rogers told ESPN Wilson has told the Seahawks he wants to play in Seattle, but if a trade were considered, the only teams he would go to are the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Bears. It's an interesting list, to say the least. Wilson, Schefter also tweets out Wilson has a no-trade clause in his contract, so in the end, he holds the cards.
That's put out there to try to get Sean Payton to figure out, or Jarrah, to figure out how to make this happen. I don't think the Bears is real. I think Vegas could be real. Maybe wants to play with
Why would the Bears?
I don't.
Why would the Bears be? What would be the ties there that would make him? It's an incredibly risky thing he's doing with his own fan base and his own brand to do this, to put out teams that he would, to have his agent through Schefter put out the only teams he would okay a trade to. I think that's pretty wild. I think it's wild that 3 of these 4 teams are in the NFC.
I do. I like that.
I think that's pretty wild. I'm surprised that the Miami Dolphins would not be on the list of teams that he would okay a trade to. That's surprising to me. So, Jarrah would be the one. I don't know I don't know what capital they would send back to Seattle that would make any sense.
And the Saints are already in salary cap
jail. Yeah. I mean, this is in simplest terms, like from the Seattle perspective, and I liked them more than you did this year. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. I really liked them to the halfway point, and then it just fell off a cliff. Not win the Super Bowl. I picked them to represent the NFC, and it fell off a cliff about the midway point. It's very strange what happened to them offensively at the halfway point. I've never seen anything like it in terms of what they were to what they ended up being. But if you're Seattle, you're still relatively close. And if you trade him, you're not. So Pete Carroll's 70. Are you gonna start over when you have a team that you feel like if you just tweak a couple of things, you're right there?
I don't quite understand it, to be honest with you. I don't know, but it again, sometimes it feels like these things, and this is clearly not even in the same realm as Deshaun Watson, but there are some hurt feelings. And I think some of it goes back to, right, wasn't there a sense that, and I didn't read this whole article, so you tell me, but
it's long.
I remember that there was a time when Russ felt like Carroll sided with Sherman and the Legion of Boom against him.
But then he picked him over them.
He did, most certainly.
So,
listen,
and then I saw it from like Rappaport saying that, that if Mahomes would have fell to Seattle, they would have picked him in the first round. They would have picked him. He tweeted it in 2017 that they would have done that, which is, and I saw him quote tweet it this morning. Like, it was pretty remarkable to me that they would have done that. I don't know. I feel like everybody kind of acknowledges that he's a top 5 guy, and it's known. He hasn't gotten an MVP vote, but I don't think that has anything to do with where he plays or Seattle or the style of play he's in. And if you're Seattle, I just don't know how you ever get back equal. It's impossible.
Is he not as well liked as we thought? Maybe not. I mean, there's always been rumors, with him in terms of, kind of the way that his brand is pushed. There's always been that. And I think that's kind of some of the stuff that, you hear that Thomas and Sherman and those guys maybe had that bothered them a little bit with him was, how much the image and stuff was pushed. But, I don't know. They seem like they're pretty close to me, and I just don't see how you get equal. If you're talking about a third, 2 1s, and a 26-year-old guy who's played in a Super Bowl, and that's what it took to get Matthew Stafford, what is this? And how do you find that? I don't know. Like, to me, that would be something where the Seahawks are getting Jameis, Lattimore, 1s, 2s.
3 1s?
Yeah.
3 1s, 2s. Is Michael Thomas in the deal?
Maybe.
Like, what does it take to do it? Like, I don't know. The Bears would have nothing that you could send back that would have any interest.
Supposedly, he's a real malcontent down there right now, and that there's scuttlebutt that he could be shipped out of town.
They did have. I mean, there was a lot of issues this year with him, which is crazy because they paid him.
And there were no issues ever that you heard before this.
Never. No. So, and like the Cowboys deal, it would be what, like CeeDee Lamb. Like, you can't. Could you? Like, you're not going to sign and trade Dak.
Right. No.
So how do they make it work? The Raiders, obviously, you'd put Carr in that deal, but then what else to get that deal done?
I mean,
Jacobs and
it's
Abraham and 3 ones?
A bevy of picks and young talent. And it doesn't seem tenable for the team. That's what's so interesting about these situations, right, is that for Russ, you're obliterating the team you're going to get there.
Correct. It's what, from a basketball standpoint, if you remember this, do you remember when Carmelo Anthony forced his way out of Denver? Everyone knew he was leaving Denver in free agency.
Yep.
If he had just waited, he could have gone because the Knicks had cap space. He was always going to go to New York. He could have gone to the Knicks in free agency had he waited 3 or 4 months. Instead, they forced the issue, they forced the trade, and it gutted the Knicks.
Yep.
Gutted them. And Anthony Davis did a similar thing with the Lakers, where if they just waited, he could have gone there in free agency, and they still would have had Brandon Ingram, and they still would have had. Now, it worked. They won a championship.
Sure.
But if you just wait, you can go without gutting the team of assets that you're going to. I don't see any scenario here that would be better than his current scenario. Nothing even close, honestly.
No, and that's the one hang up in this player quarterback empowerment wrinkle is, you can get yourself out of your situation, but can you get yourself into as good or a better situation? And that seems to be much more of the challenge right now.
And I think it's even harder. It's one thing if you're Houston with Deshaun Watson and you're saying to yourself, look, we had this guy. He was great. We didn't win anything. We need a lot. So how do you fill that void? We have salary cap issues. We need a lot through the draft. Well, we don't have draft picks. So Miami can go, here's 4 ones.
Yep.
Here's 4 ones and a young quarterback.
Yep, we can help
the Jets could go, here's 4 ones, including the number 2 pick, and if you want Darnold, we'll give you Darnold, and you can build around him. Like that, to me, that's different than Seattle. Seattle is a Super Bowl contender. They're a consistent playoff team. They're a player here or there. I'm sure they feel a player here or there from being able to win the Super Bowl. You're not going to get equal value. It's impossible.
Impossible. It is impossible. The only thing that could make sense to me is if somehow Dak signs, you do a sign and trade with Dak so that the Seahawks are saying, okay, we're getting a quarterback that is very good, younger.
Yeah.
And that way the trade doesn't have to be so lopsided.
Right, but agreed. But the issue there, of course, is that Dak's new deal will be far richer than Russell's. So they would put themselves in a tough spot cap-wise.
They're always cap is always, you can move around. If they felt like they were getting a guy in Dak that they could build around and win with, and maybe you say, hey, give us Dak and Zeke and a 1, and we'll do this. And Russ goes there and says, I'm happy throwing the ball around to CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, and we can. Chris Carson might be on his way out of town. Maybe we'll bring in Aaron Jones, or at our positions to value, we'll draft a running back.
Yeah,
that's the one that you feel like there could be.
The Seahawks could never take on though. Don't you think that deal would have to be? It would have to be CeeDee Lamb. Like you would never take on Zeke's money. Like you'd take on CeeDee Lamb. You'd take Dak. You take ones.
Right.
You and then you have DK. You have DK Metcalf. You've got Lockett. You've got CeeDee Lamb. You've got Dak. That's pretty formidable.
Yes.
That would be something you could talk yourself into. But of the teams that he, according to Schefter, which I'm sure is coming straight from their mouth, the teams that he okayed, Dallas is the only one with the artillery, and that part of that artillery is Prescott.
Yep.
Has to be.
Has to be. It's the only way that you could even possibly make that work. Yeah.
Coming up in the second hour of the program, we'll get you the latest on Deshaun Watson with a very interesting tweet earlier this morning, and also a decent chance on who we know who's going to be on Hard Knocks. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. Plus, CBD fans, the Twitter mailbag is open. Tweet your questions to us at Browns_daily. Use the hashtag AskCBD, and And we will get into that at 2:30. Easy for me to say, huh?
That's right.
We'll do the positional breakdown coming up next with the tight end, small B moment. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Be sure to catch the latest edition of the best podcast available.
Oh.
It's presented by Key Private Bank. It's out today, wherever you get your podcasts, or go to youtube.com/Browns. The Ibs boys on. Are you on that too?
No Clooney.
No Clooney
No
this week.
Clooney.
Oh,
It's not
no.
sweeps.
Guess the downloads won't be the same. CBS draft guru Ryan Wilson drops by to talk on the defensive options that could be available for the Browns at pick number 26. Oh. Gibby, how often are you guys doing those now? Is that a twice weekly, 3-4 times weekly?
We're back to our regular once a week.
Oh, once a week.
Every
and this
Thursday.
will go through draft.
We'll probably go into June.
Whoa!
We'll go through May and a little bit into June. And then we'll be back for training camp.
Yeah, we will.
Do you know how fast this is all going to go, dudes? Yeah. Like, we're going to be the three of us.
Like, Monday's March 1st.
We are going to be, I know, yeah. The three of us are going to be sitting outside broadcasting without plexiglass in a blink.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I still have that plexiglass ready to bring it at a moment's notice.
In an absolute blink.
What an exciting time. Remember we had Frayne keeping an eye on Gibby because he was such a rapscallion?
Oh, my goodness. He was red. He was beeping red all over the place.
He was red always. And we always had
they had cameras on him.
Opened.
Yeah. They had like a dedicated
Don't care.
security
I'll walk right up to someone with the Kinects just to set theirs off.
Do you think we'll be next year? Will we have those?
We got them right now.
Yeah.
What's your feeling right now?
We have.
I know now, but in August, will we have those things around our necks at camp?
I think that it is. I'll say yes. I believe that is highly likely.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. I think that's probably where you're headed.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue our position. Go ahead, Gibby.
No, I don't know what to think. Like, are we going to be in the building come football season if everybody's not vaccinated? Don't know.
At that point, we should be. I mean, you know, when I did I know you guys have looked at this too, and I mean, like in terms of in Ohio to be vaccinated, I was like June in terms of my lack of risk, and so it's going to be a while for me, but that would certainly be in time for camp.
Sure.
You know, so hopefully.
Hopefully.
All right, let's continue our positional breakdown in the tight end room. It's a good room. Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant, David Njoku. Jordan Frank's there as well. Kyle Markway on there. Steven Stiffarm. Steve is a free agent. Before we get into all the breakdowns of the individuals here, we know how good this room is. Your one word to describe this room in 2020, Z?
Excellent. I thought it was an excellent room. Very productive, very important, critical, some might say, to the success of the Cleveland Browns. And I thought this was a room that really, it shone bright, right? It was a room that did what you needed to. It was so important, not only from a pass catching standpoint, but also from a run blocking standpoint and some of the things we want to do in our scheme. And so you look at it, you know, you really had what I would call three starters. You had Austin Hooper, the two-time Pro Bowler, the big free agent signing, 46 catches, 435 yards, 4 touchdowns, which were second most on the team. Now, he blocked more than he had in his career prior, was a team player, excelled as a blocker, a sure-handed pass catcher, made some huge plays. He had the touchdown in Week 17 and in the playoff win over the Steelers. He had the third and fourth down conversions. That catch against Kansas City still was one of the most incredible to keep us in that game. And I think his role is only going to expand in this passing game as things go forward. I thought you saw over the second half of the season when we started to become more of a drop-back passing team, you saw more of Austin Hooper. David Njoku is, to me, a fascinating one, a very interesting one, and a guy that I think really has a chance to blossom. Now, I thought he really improved as a blocker. He was clearly dedicated to that. He finished the season 19 catches, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, but led the Browns tight ends with 60 yards in the playoff game against Kansas City. He had that big third down catch in Week 17 on the critical touchdown drive that resulted in the Jarvis Landry touchdown to set up that win. And I think he has the athleticism to really become a force down the seam for the Browns. And he brings something to that room that none of the other guys have, frankly, and that's that athletic profile that he has at 6'5", 260, and he can fly and he can jump.
He is almost in, for me, in terms of just from a mismatch standpoint, he's almost in the potential of it. He's almost in the Chubb Hunt category of you just can't teach some of the stuff that he has. You either have those physical abilities or you don't. And I really think that he could flourish in this offense and be an incredible weapon.
Yep.
I just think he could be an incredible weapon, and I think it would be a nightmare you have to remember how young he still is too. Like, he's still so young.
Yeah.
Wasn't he 20 when he was drafted?
Yeah,
like he was such a young player. Yeah, so such a young player. Like, I still think the future is so bright for him in this offense, and I think the production will be there going forward. I just hope that that we can find a way to be satisfied with all of that.
He's 24.
I really like his mismatch. That's what I'm saying.
He's
a
24.
Kid.
And I think what you saw from him, if you were to really pay attention over the course of the season, you saw a guy who really took it seriously to improve as a blocker and took that to heart. And I think that is going to allow the Chief to really take a step forward, because that was a commitment. He did his role. He knew his role. Yeah. He played it. I thought he did a good, in my opinion, I thought he did a great job of just going with the flow and doing what he had to do and then showing up in big moments. And I think that he did that. And it was just, I think we were scratching the surface there. I think there's an opportunity to really, really, really see him take a step forward here this year. But then that brings me to the next guy that I listed as a starter, and that's Harrison Bryant, who you would expect the arrow to be pointing up. 4th-round pick, 24 catches, 238 yards, 3 touchdowns. Great route runner, sure hands, loved blocking, former offensive lineman. Now, he kind of disappeared, I felt, as the season went on.
Yeah.
Those 2 fumbles, the second one against Jacksonville, and he's going to have to earn that back. But he's a guy that I think will only get better another year in the National Football League and having a full off season. Stiff Arm Steve is an exclusive rights free agent, which means to me, if the Browns want him back, he will be back. Key player on special teams. He was on that kick recover team, had the great onside recovery where he sat on the ball, which was tremendous. And then you've got a couple other guys. You got Jordan Franks, who's on a reserve futures deal. He was with Cincinnati in 2018, 2 catches for 37 yards. And then Kyle Markway, who spent time on the Browns practice squad. He also signed a reserve futures deal, 2020 undrafted free agent out of South Carolina. But, I mean, you could see this room coming back. You had 4 active all season long. You could see this room coming back exactly as it was. All 4 of those guys coming back, very easy to envision in my mind.
Yeah, I think it's likely, and I like what you said about Austin Hooper as well in terms of that will be an improvement. If you want to play the game of what didn't I have this year, and it was something that is in no reflection of his performance, which was exemplary, I just would have thought that he would have had a lot more catches and would have been a much bigger part of the offense, because when we were in camp, he was a warm blanket for 6.
Every day.
Warm blanket. Every day, over and over and over. And they had a connection that was just, I can still see, and I remember talking to Baker about this when we had him on and talking to Coach about it too, and maybe even Austin, I can't remember, but that play where they rolled out and Baker pointed up and he acted like he was going to turn, he turned right back and picked up the first down. And I thought, well, that's chemistry you don't get unless somebody goes to Austin, Texas, and they go work on some ball plays. And so the fact that the production from a pass reception yardage standpoint wasn't there for Hoop is something that I think will be there next year. I think this room as a whole, statistically, is going to improve exponentially next year. And that's not to say that anybody played poorly. In fact, everybody did their job. It's just we didn't utilize this position in the pass game the way that I thought we would.
No, and I think if you look over the second half of the season, you saw more of that production. I mean, you look through Austin Hooper and where did his big games come? And the majority of them came down the stretch, and even into the playoffs. You look at Hooper against Kansas City. That game, he only had 2 for 16. The week before, Pittsburgh, 7 for 46 and a touchdown. The week before, 4 for 37 and a touchdown. And he was a guy that, really 7 for 71 against the Jets that week with none of the receivers. 5 for 41 against the Giants in week number 15. So you think about 15, 16, 17, 18. He had a 4-week stretch where he either gave you 70 yards or gave you 4+ catches and a touchdown over the final, basically 4 of his last 5 games. Kansas City didn't have the production that he was looking for there, but that's where you saw him start to get involved. You saw his efficiency really, in the games with wide receivers from week 11 on. He caught 3 touchdowns. In terms of targets and catches, he had during that stretch 15 targets, had 13 catches, 3 touchdowns. And then you throw out the Jets game where they're just trying to force him 15 targets, 7 catches. But other than that, when you had your full complement of guys, 15 targets, 13 catches. I mean, that's tremendous efficiency. And so more.
Yeah, that's it. And, the chief factor is going to be is something that I hope we can get through, because I think the three of those guys at the top, and Stiff Arm Steve is number 4. That's as good as any room. That's as good as any room in
Very
the NFL
solid.
with those guys.
Yep.
And there's a lot of weapons there. There's a lot of mismatch issues there. And look, he gave us a ball. He stole our ball, then replaced it. Do you have it?
Boy, do I. Here it is.
Boy.
The Chiefs ball.
Oh, how's the air holding into that thing?
Great.
Does it still feel good?
Perfect. Yeah, it comes off the inside of the that index finger.
What's
real
your
nice.
tackiness? You got a nice tackiness
very
to it?
nice tacky. Still, yeah, real good, real good. Dimples are
Yeah.
there, signatures
Beautiful.
there. The Chief.
Yep. Yeah. I like this group. And by the way, if you're sensing a theme, a lot of these rooms are pretty good on offense.
Well,
Like, we're going to be one of the few teams in the league that really can just run it all back offensively,
Right.
which is a remarkable thing.
Right, and that's really that's what it is. This offense is going to be brought back. We went through the one room that has questions, which is the receiver room. What's that going to look like next year? That's the only question. Other than that, yeah, you're running this offense back. Who are your backup offensive linemen? That's a question. But you're really bringing back what you had on offense, and that's why you're excited. Now, when we get to the defensive side of things,
Different.
quite different. Each position group, very different. Very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Those will be different conversations. These offensive conversations have all felt pretty similar with the exception of receiver, because you're pretty well set and you're pretty well loaded at all of them. Gil Brandt of NFL.com with several intriguing player team fits, including one that has to do with us. We will get to that, and an early lean on who could be on Hard Knocks in 2021. You'll have that to look forward to, which is nice. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Gil Brandt on NFL.com with several intriguing options for players and teams, and he has us as one of the 7. And this is a guy we talked about last year, free safety Anthony Harris out of Minnesota. And Gil writes, while the Browns' early free agency focus appears to be on potentially adding J.J. Watt to the defensive front, don't forget that the back end could also use some serious sprucing up. Harris played all 1,016 snaps for the Vikings. It's impressive, en route to finishing with a career-high 104 tackles. And while he didn't log a single pick in 2020, he showed serious ball-hawking skills in the past, making 9 interceptions combined in 18 and 19. He is familiar with Coach Stefanski, of course, from their time together in Minnesota. In addition, will allow defensive coordinator Joe Woods to use more 3 safety sets with Harris, Harrison, and Grant Delpit, who missed the rookie season with injury, which we know about. We spent a lot of time talking about Anthony Harris a year ago, and wasn't he franchised? Wasn't he and Simmons were both franchised?
Yes, he was.
Because I remember him and Simmons we talked about a lot.
Right, and so what does that mean? Look, there's interest, there's knowledge, very familiar, a lot of familiarity. I like him. I think that he would be a good pickup as well, just like we talked about Hooker. The idea of adding another safety to Delpit and Harrison makes sense knowing what you want to do, and then that allows you to look at Delpit or Harrison at times as a nickel corner, Delpit or Harrison at times as a off-ball linebacker to help out in coverage, and I think that makes us a better defense. And so that's, I think, a lot of the things that Joe Woods is looking at. I think that's the role that Delpit was going to be in this year, and I think that was a big blow. And so being able to get some of those guys back, and then add a safety as well, I think definitely is something that they could be interested in. I think it could be very intriguing. And I think Harris is a name. I think, we talked about Malik Hooker being a name. We talked about Will Parks on the cheaper end of things being a name that's also familiar with Woods from his time when Woods coached him in Denver in his best season in the National Football League. So I do think that's something, Carl Joseph's a guy who could come back. I thought he came on real strong. He just found the ball. I mean, Carl Joseph found the ball over the second half of this season. I think he was involved in 3 takeaways. Philly, for sure, he had a pick against the Chiefs. He had the recovery against Pittsburgh. So he's another guy that, could be back in that safety room. I like the way he played down the stretch. I think he got off to a very, very slow start, but I thought he finished the season rather strong.
Yeah, there's a lot of options back there. And, again, it's a position group that in free agency is going to have a lot of names potentially in there for you to sift through. Unlike the draft, though, I don't know that it's quite the same at that position as it is at defensive end, where there's a lot of high-end talent. It doesn't appear that the same is true at safety in the draft. Correct.
And you hear the Mooring, I think was his name, of the guy that we said.
Yeah.
That was the guy that we had heard about last time, and so now you wonder, okay, where are we with that? Where are we, in the draft in this safety class? I don't think we're taking a safety in the first round. So, maybe there are people second or third that fit in nicely. Like a couple years ago, we talked about Terrell Burgess, remember, out of Utah, who ended up being a very good player in his rookie season. Yeah. So maybe that's down the line. But it seems like there are some good, cheaper options, depressed value options, certainly at this position with ties and familiarity to our coaching staff.
Yeah, and even look at what the Rams got Jordan Fuller, the rookie out of Ohio State last year, who was great for them. They got him in the 6th round. Like, you can do this, and we had a great draft last year. You start to say, all right, where are we going to find safeties? There's some incredibly talented guys. Look at Winfield, who went a pick after Delpit, and how talented he was and the impact he had on the Buccaneers. So you can do this in the draft. It doesn't have to be in the first round if you want to. A couple of things around the league. Deshaun Watson with a tweet this morning at 11:57, quote, "Loyalty is everything. Don't ever forget it." Gibby writes, "I love cryptic tweet days."
I mean,
it is where we are. That was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I would say not much cryptic about that, if you ask me.
You wonder who is he referring to? His loyalty towards, the people. Loyalty to what? Is it their lack of loyalty to him? Is that how you read it? Like Houston's lack of loyalty to him?
That's how I think it's all about. Yes, it is a knock on Houston. I don't think there's any question about it. I think it's a complete knock on Houston. That's what this is all about.
I saw Hoff tweet this out that he can't believe that they're not even shopping him, that they're not shopping Deshaun Watson. And the Hoff wouldn't tweet that unless he knew.
To me, it reminds me of a situation where there's like a relationship that has gone awry and somebody's just holding on to it. Like it's over.
Moira, turn your key. Wasn't that her name? In Seinfeld, wasn't her name Moira too? Turn your key.
Moira, turn your
George
key.
wanted her to break. He wanted to break up with her. She wouldn't allow him.
No, it's over.
It's not a nuclear sub. It's one key. That's it.
It's over. And I think it needs to be accepted. It needs to be understood. And then at this point, you're the Texans, like you said. How do we get back to what we need to be? And probably the path of least resistance is to go through with the Miami Dolphins and get multiple number 1 picks back and get yourself positioned to rebuild your franchise. This isn't happening.
I don't think
he's not returning your calls. He's not returning your texts. He's ghosting you. It's over.
It's over.
It's over.
It's over, man.
He's moved on. And if you want to play this insane game of chicken that says, we're going to not acknowledge this and we're going to have you sit out, guess what? We're going to keep losing games. We're not going to acquire any assets. So we save a few $1 million. What? Just accept it. Move on. It's time. It's time to move on.
It is time to move on. It reminds me of Mikey in Swingers, where Sue finally says to him, "You're still worried about a chick who left you over a year ago." That's what the Texans are. Mikey in Swingers. It's enough.
That's right.
It's over, man. There's no going back. You
They're
can't sit there
leaving
and call her over. It's
insane
done.
Voicemails. The Texans, and they're not being
crazy,
answered.
Uncomfortable voicemails that are not being answered. It's done. It's
over.
Done. And by the way, they can win in this too. They can win in this too. He was exceptional last year. They won 4 games. They can win too. They can get a bunch of draft picks, young quarterbacks. They can start over. They can reset their clock from a cap standpoint. They can win too. To me, it's just so stubborn to try to hold the line on this thing. This is pretty interesting. Rumors from Jacksonville that could be featured as the next team on Hard Knocks. Oh boy, would that be a ball watching that.
That would be a lot of fun, most certainly. And they made a good move hiring Amy Palcic, who was with the Texans, as their head of their PR. And that was obviously after they had a rough PR move with their strength coach. They just got a huge win in the PR department. And I think that would be an interesting one. I'm here to see Trevor Lawrence and how this all develops and Urban and what that looks like in the NFL. And I think what's going to be great is for us when we do, breakdowns of Hard Knocks, if it is indeed the Jags, is that we've got an expert. I covered that guy forever in Columbus.
You covered him.
So I'll be able to say, here's where I see the differences in Urban the professional versus Urban in college.
Yep. The crazy thing about your history with Urban, of course, that it actually goes all the way to his time in Florida, because you were in Florida, of course, when he first – I know, but, you were there when he first arrived on the scene there. So you go back with him all the way back to the mid-2000s in terms of a familiarity of his brand and his program and what he's building. We want to go even further. We got Gibbe, who was there at BG.
Gibbe,
and knows him.
Gibbe goes.
Were you there when Herb was there, Gibbe?
I had just left.
Did you have that shirt?
Okay.
What? No. This shirt? No. You wish you had this shirt.
I do. I'm
just telling you wish you did.
I'm envious. Make no mistake about it.
Gibbe.
Make no mistake
about it. But Dockich was there, right?
Dockich was there. I did the Dan Dockich show.
That's amazing.
Buckle
Can
up,
we get
kids.
audio of that?
Yeah, I have cassettes of that.
So you did the Dockich show. I've done the Urban show.
I did the Dan Dockich show. I can't even.
I used to do a show with Ashton Kutcher. Everybody's done shows.
We got a lot of nice
thing.
ties.
And
he hosted a show with The Miz on Sirius. Congrats.
The first time I did a Dan Dockich show. Dan Dockich walks in, goes, "Is it on?" I said, "Yep, you're on."
Was there no light?
And he just goes, "F." And I was like, "What are you doing to me?"
I'm on the air, man.
Didn't care, and he just laughed.
Yeah. It's remarkable, and he was there, and then he was longtime assistant at Indiana.
Our good friend Dave DiNatale did the first ever Urban Meyer call-in show. He was the host.
Did he really?
Yes.
Wow.
When Herb was at
how many years Urban there? 2 years? 2 or 3?
I think 3.
He had Josh Harris,
He was
right?
3. Yeah. Again, it's not my fault that you couldn't score 70 points after a beatdown at Temple.
Sheesh.
They were like,
the reason
you left
that this
the starters in the fourth quarter. He goes, "Not my fault they couldn't score 7."
Everything he does is on purpose. He's won everywhere he's been. This will be such a unique challenge for him, and just watching his interaction. And remember, he's got a lot of college guys on his staff too who have college backgrounds. Like the good news for them is they have a really young team. They're going to draft Lawrence, who's a kid, and so they can kind of, it's almost like if you've been in love before and a girl falls in love with you and it's her first true love, you can almost train them. You can train them. You say, well, this is how great it is. Aren't I great? Look at how great I am. This is how all of the men should be behaving, as great as I am to you. And that's what Urban's going to be able to do with Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be able to pull that off. He's going to be able to say, look, I'm your first love. This is it. Watch.
Be like
this is how we do it.
A tremendous
Secretariat.
machine.
The trainer who had Secretariat. Yeah. Just the perfect animal. Lucian Laurent, I believe is his name.
For the perfect trainer.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Yep, the perfect trainer for the perfect animal. That's it. It's perfect. So that's the way it goes. All right, are we doing Ask CBD next? Is that what's coming up?
Oh, we are.
That'll be fun. Do you look at these? Do you look at this at all? I never do. I don't look at any of them.
I see the ones that come through my timeline, but I try once I see that they're an Ask CBD, I try to not read them because I don't want to have like a thought and answer in my mind.
I don't want to predispose.
I want to go
off
the cuff.
Don't let him kid you. He also ruined soft launch. He's read them all.
Didn't ruin it. I made the soft launch happen. I made
the soft launch happen.
You're welcome.
We'll do that. Yeah, you're welcome. That's coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk Serious Lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio today for a free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. It's time for a little Mailbag Thursday edition of the program. You can tweet your questions to us at Browns_daily and use the hashtag AskCBD. And Gibby returns to MC for the first time in a long time. How are you, buddy?
Oh, another day in paradise. We're rolling through it.
That's
it's
right.
a Thursday.
Gibby, can I start with a question for you? Have we any updates on @Gibby?
I have no interest in changing the Twitter handle.
Such a missed opportunity.
It is. It's sad.
I beg to differ.
GIBBAY 3 exclamation points.
Can you use exclamation points?
I don't think so, but
I don't
@Gibby.
think so.
@Gibby.
Would you just add A's? How would you do it to get around? Because there is a @Gibby.
As many Y's as I need. Or
Just
GIBBEH. There can't be a Gibby.
let me see.
I'm not comfortable with that.
But it's for the people.
It's who you are.
It's for the people. I think. Let me ask you a question.
There is an @Gibby.
What?
There's an @Gibby.
Does he have as many followers as @Gibby? Because that one we can get. We can get
He's
@Gibby.
a she.
She?
No, there's not. Let me check. No, there is not. And it actually hasn't. No, there is. It's amazing. Ellie Gibson is @Gibby. She's following 0, has 7 followers.
Let's go. We can
Hasn't
talk.
tweeted since 2009.
Let's get that. We can get that
like
one
we-
removed. We know
Can we
people.
get that sorted out?
We know people. We can get that. Because Gibby, look. You are now 1 degree of
awesome.
separation away from one of the 300 people in the world followed by The Rock. The chances of The Rock following @BGSU Gibbs, I'm sorry, I'm going to put it at 0. The chances of The Rock
Gibby.
following Gibby
Oh, yeah.
at
That's a good
least
point.
2%.
He can come to me.
You know what that is?
It's all right.
That you have
I'm
increased
all
your
right.
chances
I'm good.
by infinity.
Kid come to
I
me.
know who I am. You're welcome to join me.
You are. You're Gibby.
You're welcome to join me. I respect you. I follow you. I liked your little margarita day ad the other day.
Some Terramana.
You're welcome to follow
go.
me. By the way, all right. So here's my Twitter mailbag question for you both.
Oh,
Sure.
Rock becomes president.
okay.
Is there
Yep.
where in the cabinet is Joe Thomas going?
Secretary of Defense.
That's what initially my thought as well. He might be,
Or the Interior.
or the interior. He could also be on like the head of like border patrol because he protects the borders for the quarterback.
Yep.
He's definitely there.
Secretary position for sure.
Yeah.
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 You can be counted on. Be there
Relied
every day.
upon.
He's not running like the President's Council on Physical Fitness.
10-3-6-3. If you know, you know. That's a quote.
I don't even know what that means.
There you go.
What do you mean? Let's just erase that from the podcast version of the show. I don't want that to be hung over Gibby's head. All right, before we get started, Browns Therapy wants to know where we'd all go out to eat in Cleveland. He says he's getting hungry. Gibby, you have now been invited to this meal after initially you were denied.
I could be knocked out at any time. I don't need
It
to
is.
do
You're right. It is a tenuous invitation at best.
That's fine.
I mean, there's so many fine restaurants in Cleveland. It would be hard to choose just one. I think that we have so many great steakhouses, great taco houses, all kinds of goodness.
Let's do it this way. If you were going to have a meal, what type of meal would you have? If we were going to have a meal with Browns Therapy, what would be the type of meal that you would have?
Should that have been breaking news that walked past the window?
Something grand. No, it was not. It was Big Drew. I mean, Big Drew can get breaking news. He looks tremendous as
There's
always.
one that gets breaking news.
There's a
I mean,
DJ.
I think
Go ahead.
I want to be there. There are multiple ways that I could go about it. I think that I want to be showing off Cleveland's culinary, but also the coolness, right? So you could be on East 4th. You could be somewhere on the East Bank. You could be in one of those grand buildings downtown. So
It's with It's Brown's Therapy though. Like he knows Cleveland. Like he don't need to be shown that. I mean, like this is more. I think this is more of dudes getting together, breaking bread.
breaking bread. I mean,
Like I don't need a guy playing a violin with you and with the three of us and
what
Brown's
about a guy
Therapy.
playing the saxophone?
Same.
Saxophone. Saxophone.
I don't know. I always feel like, for me personally, because tonight would
What
be
are your
St. Elmo's
favorite
night.
dude meals?
Steak.
That steak. Yeah.
Steak tacos.
So the best
Those
is
are my top two
if
dude
you can
meals. And great Italian is always great.
Great Italian. I tend to go with the steak, and I would say that if you can find and I think it's something that's underserved, because it's frankly what I want, is great steak place with awesome TVs. I love nothing more than sitting with the fellas. Like if we were going out to dinner tonight, the three of us at Brown's Therapy, I'd love nothing more than eating a steak, and then we'll leave him with the tab. And so having a nice steak and being able to watch some college hoops as we're having a meal, I enjoy that a great deal.
I agree with you on that front.
And there aren't that many places that offer that.
I agree with you. I think that's a lovely combination. I'll also say there's something that I find underutilized, which would be the notion of having a steakhouse that is also a great sushi house. And there was a place that I used to go to in Atlanta.
That's hard. It's a hard double.
It was an awesome
Prime 112
steak,
has that.
and it was awesome sushi. Prime 112 does that, but they're limited. I mean, this was a full sushi.
A full sushi and great steak.
Yes.
That's a hard double.
I like that double, though. Listen, is it supposed to be
it's
easy?
It's hard to do.
Is it supposed to be easy?
It's hard to do. That's a tough concept.
I also would like it if
you
we had
gotta be very
a true prime rib house here in town. I would enjoy.
Well, there you go. Restaurateurs of Cleveland, take care
we should go to hit a little Fahrenheit. Get a little short rib from Chef
short
Rocco.
rib. That's one of the great meals in town.
It's not it can be a fancy place if you want it to be. It can be just a
It's just one of the great
and
meals.
hanging out
Listen,
kind of place.
It's just one of the great meals in
A
town.
short rib, there's a short rib done right is as good as it gets.
It's tremendous.
And he does it right. So, yeah.
There's a great for those at home. Chef Rocco does his is the best, and his is an Asian slant on it. If you were to have Giada De Laurentiis does a short rib bucatini that's like slow cooked short ribs. You finish it by shaving some dark chocolate on it, and it is like
wow, decadent.
It is. It's a good cozy. Like right now, it would probably be we're nearing the end of when that's a good meal for you because it's definitely winter focused.
Very good.
All right.
There you go, Brown's Therapy.
Let's get things going. Jeff Mann tweets at the show at Browns_daily using the hashtag AskCBD. Can the Browns afford to keep both OBJ and Jarvis and still have the means to bring in a second edge rusher to pair with Garrett, shore up the defense, and be fiscally ready to re-sign Baker, Ward, and Chubb when the time comes? No pressure.
Yes. Salary cap
it's easy.
Is not the restriction that people sometimes make it out to be. You've got to be creative. Teams can always get around it. So yes, you can. All of those things are possible to do, no doubt.
David tweets at the show, with 2 extra draft picks and our 26th pick, how far up in the first round do you think the Browns could reach if they wanted to?
I don't see it, David.
Same. No, I was shaking my head.
I think you love second-round picks.
Shaking my head.
And I think you've seen our guys do a great job with middle-round picks. We've seen it. I don't see us moving up. Does not seem to be, and I'd be shocked. I'd be more in line to drop out to go get more 2s.
Yep.
Than to go up.
Like that trade that was in the one mock that we had saw us give up a 1 and 2 2s to move up and get an edge rusher. I would put that at Rock following at BGSU Gibbs levels.
Oh,
not Rock following Gibbe, because there's a
Gibbe. Rock would be like, I gotta see this guy.
Who is?
Can I put him on my detail?
Who is this?
Can I get this guy on my detail?
Joe Thomas follows him. Maybe I should follow him.
Maybe I should.
I'll be the head of social. I'll be the social committee chair.
So great.
Oh boy,
that
inauguration ball would take on a whole new meaning.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Gibbe.
You take your black ties, you're going to throw them right in the garbage over there. You're going to put on some jorts, and you're going to go in.
You're missing it. No, you're missing the opportunity. You in a tuxedo with a tie unfurled would be peak you.
It
would
2
look incredible.
tuxedos.
I know you do. And then take 2 buttons down and have the bow tie just hanging around your neck, which looks fantastic for everybody anyway.
Who wants to
Come
sex
on,
Mutombo?
Gibbe.
Let's go.
Oh, it's such a win for you. Not even sure what was said. What's next?
Mark tweets at the show, would you prefer Marshawn Lattimore over J.J. Watt if you had to choose?
See?
I don't want to put it in those terms, but what I would tell you is I think Marshawn Lattimore has a chance to be a Cleveland Brown for significantly longer than J.J. Watt does. And so he, from that value standpoint, has a lot of appeal to me. The notion of Lattimore and Denzel Ward together as corners would be great. And I think what I'm looking for, and by the way, there's nothing that says it has to happen in 2021 that we find that long-term guy next to Myles Garrett, right? But that's what I'm always focused on. How much goodness can I get out of this product? And now, look, if J.J. Watt comes here for a year and we win a Super Bowl, totally worth it. Marshawn Lattimore, though, I think has the chance to be here for a long time and is also –
He's 24.
He's a great player. I mean, right. He's 8 years his junior.
Yeah. You start to get excited about the idea of two Cleveland kids starting at corner for the Browns. Two Cleveland kids who played at Ohio State starting at corner for the Browns. That's a lot. That's a lot of cool.
Yep.
More from the CBD Twitter mailbag at Browns_Daily using the hashtag AskCBD. Hank with this tweet, an interesting one. What is one position of need that is best filled through free agency and one need that you think would be best filled through the draft? Not necessarily
defensive
player,
end
I
in
think
free agency.
Position.
Defensive end in free agency, speed at receiver in the draft.
Yep. Agreed.
Safe.
Next.
As I scroll down here, Ryan Black says, should Nathan and Beau turn in their man cards for being such fanboys of The Bachelor?
No.
debatable.
Absolutely not. It shows complete supreme confidence in our masculinity.
Here's the deal. So I haven't watched the show since the Palmer years. I started watching it this year in part because Z convinced me. And I will tell you that I have a tremendous amount of fun watching the absurdity and mocking it.
Yeah.
And in my mind, at least, my commentary is exceptional. I don't know if my wife always agrees. I think she appreciates some of it more now than she did at the beginning. But that my running commentary is really exceptional in my mind. So it entertains me, if not her.
Based on our text exchange, it is exceptional. And I think we could have a live broadcast.
We should do that.
Which would be great.
That would be amazing.
Listen, they're looking for podcast ideas.
I don't know.
We'll give them our take on the Bachelor and Bachelorette franchise in real time.
I don't know if the Browns would want to be associated with our takes on that if they're unfiltered.
I do live commentary. Like, there are times I am not a fan of these programs, but there are times where Miss K will get me, and we're all of a sudden a Real Housewives on, and I will give nonstop commentary. You want me to watch this?
Yeah.
You're getting commentary. You might not always like what comes out of my mouth, but you're getting that commentary.
You're gonna get it.
Yeah. Sometimes she'll be like, "You've already said that." I'm like, "It's clearly worth repeating."
It was funny then,
and it's
still
funny
now.
Right? It's still funny. Like, I have nicknames. Yeah, for sure.
John tweets at the show. He's got two questions. First one is for Beau. Beau, what's your best go-to meal for the three young boys? Mine are 7, 4, and 2. Z, I need another soup recipe. Yesterday's was very intriguing. I think yesterday was a bolognese.
It was a bolognese. Yeah, sure.
It was fantastic. Yeah. So my favorite one that I do for the boys, I love a one-pot meal with the boys. So
Yep.
I love doing anything I can. My favorite to do is a stir fry. I do a stir fry with the boys that is really good, that they all like. It's a way of tricking them into eating vegetables, which is a wonderful thing. So that would be the one I go. I do it probably once every 2 weeks. I'll do a nice. I can do it chicken. I can do it shrimp. I can do it steak. Sometimes I'll go veggie, but I'll do a stir fry as the kind of the go-to.
Oh yeah, you got a nice wok. Nice
Sure.
wok's important.
What am I, hard at walking?
Yeah, definitely not. No way.
I don't know why I haven't cooked with. I could start cooking all sorts of stuff in it.
You can make a nice
love
pasta sauce in a wok. It's great.
I was just gonna say I'll do a nice bolognese in it.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. A new soup. I'll give you a real quick little summer minestrone. And so you can make some turkey meatballs to put in there, or you can make I just sometimes crumble the sausage, cook that first, take that out, obviously, as is the like, and then I'll use a rotisserie chicken to fill in the chicken bits of it. One important little trick with this, I do a mixture of chicken broth, low-sodium chicken broth, and then also bone broth. So it's usually 2 big of the low-sodium chicken broths, 2 of the normal containers of chicken bone broth. And then you've got to have your veggies, obviously, some celery, some carrots, some onion, lots of garlic. One of the keys, this is a key ingredient in there, is the Parmesan rind. You just drop that bad boy in there while the whole thing's percolating.
Oh,
that
that's
gives
a bold move.
A nice depth, a nice richness of flavor to it. I also like to throw a few sprigs of rosemary in. This is an important part, too, at the end. So I'll usually throw some kale or some 1 can also, it should say, of stewed tomatoes. Just one little can of stewed tomatoes because that gives it a little bit of the color. It gives it a little bit of that flavor. Zucchini you want in there. Zucchini goes in right at the end, like a minute out on serving. Zucchini, and if you want to put spinach or kale, which we do to kind of give some of those good power greens, that's a minute before. Like once you take the pasta out and you put it and you're drying it, and the pasta's got to be a ditalini. It's important that it's a ditalini for your minestrone. While that is about to come off the oven, that's when you put that in, mix it up, because you just want that to cook quickly. Obviously, some mushrooms are in there as well. But, yeah, the little summer minestrone. And then you finish it before you serve it. Cut a lemon in half, squoze it, boom, and there you go. And it's a real treat.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, but the Parmesan rind,
there you go.
That's nice. And
That's
sometimes,
I didn't see that wrinkle.
If I'm feeling ambitious, 1/4 pound of prosciutto di Parma, and then I take it, I peel the fat off, and I take the little ones and I roll them up into little balls.
Oh, my God.
And then when you get a little
Decadent.
gumball of prosciutto, you're winning. You're not losing.
Alive.
You're not losing.
You want an Ask CBD, kids? There you go.
There you go.
Still so much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Is this real? We have Bill Callahan on tomorrow?
That's right.
Wow.
Yes, we do.
Wow. That is a football meat sandwich at the end of February. There's a lot of pastrami on that one. There's a lot we can get into it, Coach. I'm looking forward to that. We get smarter.
Hey, I got a guy that needs to get smarter. Some guy tweets at us, why do you guys call Joe Thomas the Hoff? He's not in the Hall of Fame. He's never even played in the playoff.
First of all, he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. He's going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's followed by The Rock. I don't know if you noticed that earlier today. And how's this stat for you. The only offensive lineman in NFL history to be voted to 10 consecutive Pro Bowls. There you go.
He is, and by the way, even at the very first part of it, he is in
the College Football Hall of Fame. And you know what I'm going to put him in?
He's in it.
You know what I'm going to put him in?
He will be in the NFL, the Pro Football Hall of Fame on the first ballot.
First ballot, without question. And more importantly than that, More importantly than that, I would put him as a first ballot in the Human Hall of Fame. The Human Hall of Fame.
I agree. The Human Hall of Fame. I think he's a first ballot Human Hall of Famer.
Human.
If you're someone who can have that type of relationship with The Rock and have a relationship with us and give everybody the same,
yes.
Hoff Human. What do you got there? You're very excited.
Oh, we got luminaries. It's a parade of stars. Look at this.
Parade of luminaries.
Wow. We're talking, right? Okay, we've got a window pane, a brown, a dark brown window pane blazer that is with a blue window pane on a light blue on it that looks just spectacular.
I can picture
Multiple layers are there. Walking by with luminaries. There are only a couple luminaries above Senior Swag. They all just walk by. That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the heavy hitters right there.
Oh, my gosh.
We haven't seen a trio that powerful since the NWO in the late 90s. The original.
It's been a long time.
Hogan, Hall, and Nash.
Was he in a suit or was it a jean?
It appeared. I was mesmerized by honestly, the blazer was so good.
The blazer blew you away.
That I was stuck up
top.
top.
I'm picturing it like one that I would see Peyton Manning wear, like the chocolate with the baby blue window pane. Is that a right view? Chocolate. Or is it more of a rust?
It is. It's a chocolate. A little bit lighter. I would call it like a dark camel with more of an indigo than a baby blue. More
an indigo. Oh,
so I misspoke when I said light blue. It's more of an indigo. Yeah.
Wow.
It looked.
What was the pant?
Very nice. That's what I said. I never got there. It was happening so fast. I'm giving thumbs up to.
Gosh.
There's so many people happy.
So many luminaries you couldn't even keep track.
Yeah. I will say I didn't think it would be possible that anybody could challenge for an upper body accoutrement, could challenge Gibbe today, but that blazer did it.
That did it. All right, good stuff.
Didn't
Next level up next. We're back tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.